from the observation boat whether it was inside or outside. So then we have association with other species that we mark. I mentioned here about this G-column, which means group, and then we write the number. So some columns may be empty. Maybe you just see 15 shacks at a distance of 100 to 200 meters within a transect, and you have no information neither about multi-species associations or behavior. So then it's easier, just write this three. But together with those 15 shacks, and then there is, you can also mark a prey if you can. Okay, you don't see it. But together with those shacks, there were also 23 yellow-legged gulls. Like we said before, we're using this coding, so LARMIC is Larus michaelis, yellow-legged gull. And so we saw them at the same time. They form one group. They're feeding together, and we mark groups with just the same number. So if we see somewhere along the transect other groups, we would mark them with number 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And they were all adults. This is what I forgot to mention before. So all the rest is the same because they have the same behavior. They're feeding at the same trawler. The only difference is the numbers and the species. And then as we move on, we see another two yellow-legged gulls, which are outside of the transect because they're more than 300 meters away. So E, more than 300 meters away. And in the direction we have 14, so they're sitting on the wood or associated with some kind of floating wood at sea, and they're resting there. Okay? Understood? But these are complicated cases. In most of the cases, like I said, you have either this 4 columns here, or not even if they're sitting on the water, not even this one. So you just get this, and of course the species in time. So, yeah. And then 2 minutes later, we saw 150 Yelkwan shearwaters that were flying. See, they were flying. They were within the transect. Number 2, it can be a bit confusing because number 1 is out of the transect and number 2 is in the transect. I would expect vice versa. And they were flying in the direction 4. And direction 4 is east. So they were flying east. Okay? So basically, looking at these 4 examples, this is what you get. It doesn't get really much more complicated. In fact, it usually gets much easier. So here, it's just a short summary of the coding. So what we're using is for Yelkwan shearwater, which is Porphinus yelkwan, we use this code, and so on for yellow-legged gull. For, let's say, for loggerhead sea turtle, which is careta careta, or for the monk seal. Yes. So in basically, I have already mentioned that we have skipped some fields because we didn't at HOS. So in the counts that we're doing in Greece, because we didn't see them as important. So especially the ice, but instead of some ice at sea, we added different types of ship presence, and we're counting all the species, and we're always doing full transect with snapshot. Now, another thing that we did was we prepared an Excel data sheet, because what we saw from other projects is that, especially if you're getting a lot of information, then it's very difficult for the data manager to organize all this data. And usually it's like a bottleneck there at the data manager, because he cannot cope with so much data. So we prepared an Excel file which is basically a copy of the paper form that you saw before. So it's filled in exactly the same way as we have described before. The only difference is that it prevents you from making some major mistakes, and also if you have a long trip, it makes it easier for you to fill in the form. And here I'm just going to make a quick demonstration. So we fill in only the fields which are marked in white, and in this data, in this Excel file, what you have is two data sheets for putting the base data and bird data. So they're equivalent to the base and bird data sheets that we saw in paper form. Then we have two more data sheets with codes, with all different kinds of codes that are used in those two data sheets. And then we also put the species list. Again, this could be modified because some species maybe are not they're in Greece and are not in your countries, and vice versa, that there are some important species that you have in Turkey, Romania, Bulgaria, but might not be in Greece. So in order to avoid mistakes, certain fields are filled in a certain form. So let's say the date is written in that form. You don't write 14th of January 2011. Time is written in this form. So you don't write 3:26 p.m. because all this means that all this data can go directly into the database without any other processing. And then for most of the other fields, you can choose the values from drop-down lists. And what you need to be sure is, suppose you made a mistake and you want to move some data from one place to another place, do not do cut and paste, always copy and paste, because you could ruin the structure of the Excel file. So now that we're doing it like that, maybe it's better if I even open the Excel file and show you how it's done. Okay. So it's basically the same data that we have saw before in the presentation. But suppose that we don't finish here at 17:32, but we want to continue with the transect. So instead of writing all the data, and if you know that the transect is continuing at 17:32, we simply go to the field time and we double click it, and the file automatically fills in the coordinates, the time, and also sets the next POS key. And suppose now that you're traveling from one side of the Black Sea to the other in a straight line with constant speed. You might spend hours doing that. So instead of then writing every time POSCI and time, and you can do mistakes, you just double click and the program calculates the POSCI on its own. And then suppose at 1809 you get to another location, which is, I don't know, 37, 52, and 23, like that. And that's it. So it makes the whole procedure much faster. Instead of writing all the values, you just have to double click. And then, as far as the birds are concerned, again you have the same fields. Suppose we saw at 1746 we saw more yellow-legged gulls, and we don't know which categories are possible for we don't know at which POSCI that was. So what we do is double click on POSCI, and again the program fills in automatically the POSCI. So you don't have to check here. Suppose you haven't recorded the POSCI, you don't have to check here. At 1746, where were I? Where was I? I was at POSCI number 7, and then you fill in. So the data sheets fills in automatically. And then, in case you're not sure about some categories, you just double click. Let's say here at a distance. You're not sure what different category codes mean, so you see here the description, and you simply double click. Let's say we want to enter the distance 200 to 300 meters. You double click D, and it's entered into the data sheet. And this is true for all values. So let's say the other method is you simply choose from the drop-down list. That's it. So, yes?
The direction is 26 and 14.
Yes, this means, look, in case this happens, okay, 26, it's associated with fishing vessels. So you double click on the value.
Yeah, but it's on the column with the direction.
Yes. That's how the original ESAS works. That when you have associations with some phenomena at sea, let's say fishing, or it's, let's say, fronts, or anything like that, this is considered more important than in which direction they're flying, because the direction is usually associated with some phenomena that we don't know. Let's say yellow-legged gulls might be flying towards north, and then after some time we realize, at the north there is an open rubbish dump. That's why we're flying there. But if we would know that, we could write the reason for the birds to be there and flying there is a rubbish dump, or there is a fishing port, or anything like that. So that's why up to the value of 9, it really means direction. But after the value of 9, it means that some other phenomena explains why the birds are flying or they're present. Okay? So let's say for number 14, what does it say? Okay, sitting on or near floating wood. Okay. So I don't want to spend too much time with that. We can see that also in practice at some other point, or you'll see it, simply doing it, because we have what, 2 more hours?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I would say let's just finish with ESAS. I would like then my vocal course to take a short break, and then we continue with the coastal counts and shag colony surveys. So let's just finish with the presentation.